I think one of the quickest years of my life was the first year I spent running my small business. Now, any small business owner will tell you that there's nothing more valuable than time. So I thought I would share with you the top 5 things that I could not live without during that first year of running my small business. Now, these are things that absolutely were workhorses for me, and that saved me a ton of time, or a ton of money, or both. Alright, so you're probably thinking to yourself, why are you showing me a picture of a cheap little printer? And let me tell you, this little printer is small but mighty. It saved me time, it saved me money, and it has been such a workhorse for me. This little printer has done everything. It's printed my packaging labels, front and back. It's printed invoices. It's printed logo stickers. It's printed delivery notes. It's printed shipping labels. You name it. This little thing has printed it. And I tell you what, it's been with me since the very start. It cost me about £200. And I tell you what, it's an eco tank, which means you fill it up with a little ink bottle rather than cartridges. And I can tell you that in about this, I think I've been running for about 15 months now, I haven't had to fill that little guy up once. So the ink that I started my business with is the ink that's still going now. So running costs have been absolutely minimal. It's had no breakdowns. It's never let me down. It's just been amazing. Effectively, the only costs that I've had to pay out for this since starting the business have been for paper and have been for labels. It's never had a day off the job. And when you're going into small business, really you're looking for things that are going to do multiple jobs for you and also save you time and save you money. And this thing, literally day in, day out, it's been worth its weight in gold. So if you were looking for a small printer to start your small business with, it's going to really work hard for you. And in my opinion, I mean, everybody's got their own opinion, but in my opinion, something that's going to be worth the money that you pay for, then I would heartily recommend the Eco Tank. I think mine's the 2750. And kind of staying with printers, let's talk about sticker paper, and more specifically A4 sticker paper, because I have used this day in, day out. Again, my first year in business. When I first started the business, I costed up printing for things like packaging. And I can tell you, if you've ever looked into starting a business, if you're researching printing, it is pretty expensive. When you're looking at startup costs for a new brand, costs of packaging can be astronomical. And obviously, when you're starting a small business, especially if you haven't got a lot of money and you're working on tight margins, then you want to really start up as cheaply as possible. So I looked into starting my business by doing my printing for my labels in-house. And for that, I've used A4 sticker paper for the whole first year of my business. Now, again, a bit like the printer, this is a complete workhorse. I buy one pack of 100 A4 sticker sheets, and these sticker sheets do everything for me. They do my shipping labels, they do my packaging labels, anything that I need sticker paper for, these do. Instead of buying separate stickers for little circles, for little rectangles, this paper I use for everything and just cut out the actual stickers that I need. And yes, at the moment, sometimes that does take a bit longer on the cutting, but in terms of does it do what I need, it does everything that I need, and it saves me so much money. For one packet of A4 stickers, 100 A4 stickers, it costs me about £22-23 per pack, and that lasts me a fair while. Now, as my business grows, will I move to outsourcing my printing, my packaging elsewhere? Of course. I want my packaging, I want my printing to look as professional as possible, but for the moment, for the startup phase, it's more important to get the the solution that works for me, that gives me the best value for money, that serves the customer, that allows me to bring my product to market at the best possible price, and basically just gets the job done. And with one packet of stickers, I can service all my printing needs in one order. So it saves me time, it saves me money, and yes, it certainly serves my business. And look, here's an example of the end result. So I think you'll probably agree, as a startup presentation, I don't think that looks too bad. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm pretty darn proud of that, really. The third thing I couldn't live without during my first year in business was Facebook. Now, you might be asking yourself, why specifically Facebook? Well, just because A, it was cheap, and B, it was convenient, and C, look at what it did for me for being cheap and for being convenient. It was my first way of communicating with customers before I even set up as a business, before I had a place of work to work from, before I had a business website, before I had a business email. I had my Facebook page, which obviously had a messaging system attached to it. It gave me a way of gaining exposure for the business before I had my website and before I was totally up and running. It meant that as I was moving towards opening up my business premises, I could post behind the scenes footage and give people a little sneaky peek of how the business is coming along, just to create a little bit of excitement and a little bit of a build-up before the business actually came into being. And the third thing that Facebook did for me that I found completely invaluable is that when you apply for your first business account, you have to prove that you are a real business or a sole trader before you actually exist in some circumstances. And it's really hard when you don't have a business premises, when you don't really have shops full of products and lots of shiny things that you can show. But one of the things you can show to prove that you are legitimate is a presence online. And before you have a website, one of the things you can have is social media. So Facebook is an excellent way of proving that you are who you say you are. You can give your Facebook page to whatever business account, whatever bank account you're applying for, and prove that you are actually present online. And when I applied for my business account, this helped me. So maybe it might help you too. Now, the fourth thing I couldn't live without during my first year in business is my SumUp account. Now, this for me, it was not just a card reader, but it's a online shop, and they also provide QR codes as well. I'm actually going to do a separate video on this because I think it's such a useful tool for certainly if you are in retail or if you have a product to sell. I have found it invaluable, so I will be making a separate video on this. But in terms of the actual SumUp itself, physically I had one of these little card readers. Now this is with me every day in the studio in case anybody pops in to buy something. Also, if I'm doing a pop-up shop, that comes with me as well. But also the actual account that you can set up that goes with this. It can act as an online store. And I do have an online web shop that's powered by SumUp, and it works like an actual website. I'm going to do a separate video on this. And also attached to that as well, you can set up QR codes, which has been fantastic for me because these QR codes you can print out so that if you have a pop-up shop, if there's ever somewhere where your Wi-Fi in particular is struggling, or it's somewhere where you can't get your Wi-Fi to work, you can use the QR code. And as long as your customer's Wi-Fi is working, they can scan it with their phone and they can make the payment through the QR code instead. Or also, if you are doing rent-a-shelf somewhere, then you can use the QR code as well where you have your items, so that your customer can pay you direct through the QR code instead of through the actual place where you're renting the shelf from. It's been so useful, guys. Keep your eyes peeled for a separate little video. And just to give you an idea of costs, the actual machine itself I got on a special offer. I think I paid $29.99 for. Sometimes it's usually a little bit more than that. Sometimes it can be less, but I paid just under £30. The rest of the costs, the actual account itself is free. You just pay commission on a small amount of commission on each transaction. And that varies depending on whether you use the online store, whether you use the card reader, or whether you use a QR code. For example, the QR code just works like a bank transfer at the time of filming, and that actually has no commission attached to it at all. So the price that the customer pays is the price that you receive. The price that you pay for an online purchase on your SumUp store is a little bit more, but I will do a separate video on that and give all the current accurate rates at the time of filming in the video. But if you wanted to look for yourself at today's current rate, go to the SumUp website and all of today's accurate and up-to-date rates will be listed, or should be. Alright guys, we've finally reached number 5, the 5th and final thing that I totally could not live without during my first year of business. So a little drum roll. That was a rubbish drum roll. But this is what it was. Look at this, man. It's a big blue IKEA bag. Or bags, in my case. There's not many things that these aren't an answer to in your startup era. Going to IKEA to buy things for your new small business? You need an IKEA big blue bag. Moving into new business premises? You need a big blue IKEA bag. Going to your first craft market? You need a big blue IKEA bag. Posting parcels and customer orders? You need a big blue IKEA bag. And finally, delivering orders to a new wholesale stockist. You know exactly what I'm going to say. You need a big blue IKEA bag. Show me a person who has started a small business and who has not used IKEA at some point. It's so easy to pick up when you start a new business. And I tell you what, I think I bought stuff from IKEA the first week I moved into my studio. And the blue bag that I bought that first week, it's been everywhere with me. It's done everything with me. It's been worth every penny that I've spent. It doesn't even look like it's done a year and a half's worth of travelling and business. It's been, again, another workhorse, worth every penny, and an absolute time saver for the amount of jobs that it's done. So yes, the 5th thing that I couldn't live without and haven't lived without, my big blue IKEA bag, one of a couple. And they've worked really hard. So guys, I hope this was really helpful for you if you are starting out in business for yourself. I wish you every luck. If you are wanting to follow my journey, I'm sharing lots of tips and tricks as I go as well. But also, if you are a new business or you're starting a new business, if there's something that you found that you haven't been able to live without in your startup phase, in your first year of business, pop it in the comments as well. Share it with us all, just in case there's someone else out there, or even me, might help me. It could be useful information for someone. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.